Hello, my name is Alicia Wilford. I am a life coach and founder of Yoke and Abundance. Today we are talking about fear. Let's define fear. So I pulled up the actual definition of fear, and the actual definition of fear is an unpleasant feeling triggered by the perception of danger, real or imagined. So what I really want to focus in on around this particular definition is perceived danger, because most of the time in this day and age, we don't have a lot of physical danger. We're not running from tigers in our daily life. Now, that's not to say dangerous things don't happen. They, of course, do. And that blinking fear is very different from the fear that we perceive or imagine. So let's just make that distinction going into it. When do you feel fear? I want you to even pause this video and take a moment to write down the things that you feel fear around. Do you feel fear around quitting your job, starting a business, starting a community? Fear around being abandoned, whatever the fear might be that you hold in your heart, I think it's really important that you acknowledge that fear. So it is just like we've talked about in the past here, our feelings and our emotions are like beach balls. If they're floating on the surface, we can kick them around, we can work with them, we can change their position. But if we try to stuff them down, they will explode out of the water. And what I have found is that fear is actually a blinking signal to move towards something, not away from it. And again, I'm talking about the fears that come up that we have around going after the dream, speaking our truths in our most intimate relationships, going after what we really want. These things can spark so much fear. Fear around how other people will react to us, fear around what we perceive could happen if we go after what we want, fear of failure. These are blinking signs to move towards something. So go ahead and make a list of the fears that you have. Now, what I want you to do is to ask yourself, what happens if I go after that thing, if I address that fear? So write that down. Write an affirmation to counter something that you know to be true, to counter that fear statement. Now, another thing that we can do if we want to tackle fear, this is something from the Stoics. I learned this from Tim Ferriss. It's called fear setting. And it is that it's making a list of all of your biggest fears. You want to write out like 10 of them. And then what you want to do is, if that fear happened, if your greatest fear actually came true, what could you do? What recovering actions could you take in each of those worst case scenarios? This is unlike goal setting, right? It's fear setting. It allows you to really strategically think through what could happen, what is worst case scenario. And what I've found is this is very, very empowering. One of the things in my life that I felt the greatest fear around was leaving the perceived safety of my corporate job and starting my business, Yoke and Abundance. And it's not that the things that I feared didn't happen. In some cases, they very much did. But my why was greater than that fear. And I knew I needed to pursue the dream over the fear. So in addition to fear setting, something that you can do to help you connect to your desire over your fear is you can write out your why. What's the thing that you want? What that thing that you want on the other side of fear, right? They say that what you most want is on the other side of your fear, and that's true. So what is that? Why do you want it? Write that out. When you know your why, when you connect to your why, it gives you the thing to run towards, the dream to run towards. Then I have a dear friend, Bonnie Christine. She is just an incredible human being, and she founded a surface pattern design immersion course, and she's just absolutely a brilliant businesswoman, and she talks about having 10 seconds of courage. What does that look like in practice? If you are full of fear around something, you need to really write out what those fears are. You need to write your affirmations, write out what would happen, what recovering actions you could take if your greatest fears came true. Know your why for going after the thing, and then you have to have 10 seconds of courage. 10 seconds of courage to make the phone call, to speak your truth. 10 seconds of courage to quit the job, or 10 seconds of courage to, heck, I even use this, on a day-to-day when I'm trying to really attend to my health. Sometimes I need 10 seconds of courage to get out the door to go for my run, because I'm scared that I might do a bad job or scared that I might not finish that run. But what I know is that the fear monster gets bigger the longer we sit with it. So if you have fear around something, the further down you're pushing that emotion, the more you try to ignore it, the more you try to hide it in the closet and pretend it's not there for whatever reason, the bigger that fear monster is going to get. And if you connect to your why, if you fear set, if you have 10 seconds of courage, I know that on the other side of that work is your greatest desire. Fear is this thing that is standing between you and your greatest dream. And you absolutely can have what it is that you're hoping for if you see fear as a sign to move forward, to move through, and not away. If you've liked this video, please hit subscribe, share it with a friend, and tell us about your greatest fear in the comment section below and how you've overcome it. I can't wait to hear from you. Thanks for being here.